The career exploration was integrated because it came from an idea that after the student foundation success action team was talking about some data on how developmental students reached the end of their degree and still were unsure as far as what type of career they wanted. So I took the opportunity to go ahead and explore on how to integrate it into my course competencies. And with the collaboration of the student success coaches, I was able to merge these ideas together. So when we were creating the canvas, I wanted to make sure that the objectives were outlined for the students, not just the course competencies, but as well as what the student career coaches needed. And so I merged the objectives. I provided student outcomes at the end of each module for the students to be aware of what they were going to go through when it came to these presentations and these websites that they were being asked to look at. With that, I went ahead and made sure that we were covering the skills as far as like note-taking or vocabulary terms. And so I just made sure that that alignment was happening for them. And it was constantly visual for them because it's something that I always reference to at the beginning of the class. The integration of the community wealth came about during a course design institute that was held this past summer with Megan Garvey. And so we were talking about being instructors that are culturally responsive to the needs of the students, diverse students in particular. It is a six-part model that capitalizes on the strengths that students have, and it motivates them. So based on the stories that I was introducing with the textbook for the course for Reading 81, the capitals just aligned perfectly with the stories and with the presentations that the student career coaches had for the class. So during the institute, on the whiteboard, it was really drafted, broken down by modules, broken down by formative assessments, broken down by assignments, broken down by the stories. And so that's how all of that came about. We started off with Aspirational, and Aspirational Capital covers the hopes and dreams of students. You know, they come here, they know they want to be college students, but the next steps are really not laid out for them. So I wanted to provide a good experience for them so they are informed and they know where the resources are so they can actually make those hopes and dreams real.
When I was a little girl, I always knew that I wanted to be a nurse, and it was funny because when I was growing up, everybody would always tell me that they can see me as a nurse, so it kind of fit me. So I was kind of excited. I am doing this, going to school for my father because he passed away when I was 10, and my birthday before he passed away, I made a promise to him that I was going to move away to school and I was going to graduate with my nursing degree because that's what he wanted me to be, and he knew that I could be it. So I'm doing this for him.
What I went ahead and did is allowed the students to do some surveys. The first one was SMART measure, which actually tapped into life attributes, the attributes that we need of a college student. For example, test-taking skills, managing time, using a calendar, communication, those kind of skills. The next survey that we actually had them do, and that was in conjunction with one of the presentations, was Own It. And that survey actually tapped into the student skills regarding as an individual what they bring to the table when it comes to career. So we were looking at those soft skills. We were looking at also their likes and dislikes. For example, do they like to work with people? That would be another skill to look at when they're choosing their careers. So that information actually provided the students a different type of careers that they might consider. After that, there's a personality test, a little bit more inward as far as looking at themselves. And with that information, they were going to create a project. What we went ahead and did is actually help students visualize this through a vision board. Many students were, amazed that I was introducing this in the course, which they saw that disconnection of reading and career exploration, but when they saw it all come together, for example, looking for facts on a particular career. I had a young lady who was looking at the facts regarding nursing. And so she didn't realize how those skills came into place and then how she needed to make that decision to navigate through different courses in order to achieve her nursing degree. So I found that very interesting. Again, another area where I capitalized on it. I took the opportunity. There was many discussions with the students as far as what kind of careers, because we needed to help them understand there's a difference between a job and a career. And so we talked about salaries, we talked about demographics, we talked about the need here in the Phoenix area, what type of jobs, and how Maricopa Colleges really supports them in those different needs here at Phoenix area. I think the key point was that degree plan. I know it's set up initially at the beginning when they come in, but with so much information being given to them, it was put aside. And these are first-year students, non-traditional students, first-generation students. So they're taking in all this information, but they're putting it off to the side. So when that opportunity came about choosing a career, how do you do it? It lent itself perfectly for guided career pathways. And that's something that this institution is working really hard in helping students achieve those pathways so they could navigate through it much easier.
I want to be a physical therapy. When I was, when I moved here in the United States, I don't have any, idea, what I'm going to do. What is, my job. So what I want is to help other people. My focus right now is improve my English. Learn more, because if I have my client, how can I, make a writing to, what do you call that? How to explain very well to my clients if I don't know how to speak in English. This is my goal. MCC helps me to achieve this goal, honestly.
I'm going to use one example. I focused on the non-traditional student. We read an article where a student took some time off because life came about and decided to come back to college. And so the navigation that student did in order to be successful of the college was a very great example for us. With that, we went ahead and within the article, we extracted vocabulary terms, we did notes, we continued to look for main idea and supporting details, we looked for fact and opinions. So these are some of the competencies that we were working already in the course, but it wasn't in isolation form. It actually came all together. By having Michelle Eckhart come in and do her presentations. So she initially started with a career exploration. What is a career? From there, she went to choosing a major, and then Transfer 101A, and then Transfer 101B. Of course, we extended it to also what resources are here at the campus. For example, student services, anything that a student might need to continue to push forward in their college career. The idea is for them to have a beautiful experience being at the college, but also be very informed. Who can they go to? So that's how we created that support system. Michelle did her presentation. They took notes as well. We continued to scaffold. I would say for 2 of her presentations, we did Cornell notes, and the other 2, we did outlines. We did a lot of group activity where the students did conversations with groups. They did discoveries. We did a gallery walk. We did a mind map. Vocabulary building. So they needed to have a word collection every week. For every story we read or any presentation, at the beginning, I usually give them the words. But the idea was for them to start creating their own collection, words that they wanted to own up. And they ended up doing the Freyer model with this. So they would submit it through Canvas, which was another area that they needed to learn how to navigate with Canvas as a student, not just for my course, but as they move into their higher courses. I wanted them to feel comfortable with Canvas. The other thing was the reading selections. Every story was aligned to the way the course was laid out based on the capitals. So one week we were talking about mother tongue, which emphasizes on linguistics and having a voice, and the linguistics capital helped. It helped students understand that their voice is very valuable, it's important, and they should utilize it. The other strategies that we worked on was main ideas, supporting details. We worked on fact and opinion. We also worked on patterns of organization. So students were being exposed to this constantly. It was actually a consistent skill. It wasn't just used one time. It was actually building and building. One of the things that students I noticed based on their presentations was highlighting and annotating. Students initially would highlight the whole paragraph, and toward the end it was just keywords. What they found was valuable. Same thing with annotation. We did a lot of reciprocal reading strategies with that, and so it was really, I like to say, tear a story apart, tap into the mind of the author. So we actually did a lot of those strategies with the students. Note-taking. We went from Cornell notes to outline to SQ3R. We went to mind maps or concept maps. So we were able to go ahead and help students understand on how to attend to different types of texts. I do want to go ahead and also mention that students exposed to reading wasn't just stories, but it was articles. It was websites. It was presentations, even TED Talks. So all those areas that help students to understand information was outlined with some type of reading skill. The other thing is discussions. I'm all about small group and discussions. So anything that we discussed, give them a moment to think about it and then share out. I wanted to have that accountable talk with the students. So if the student wasn't ready to have a conversation, I would always tell students, I'm going to come back to you because I want to make sure that we're all successful. So that was pretty much my message. All the students, I wanted to make sure that they walked out as master students. In other words, they can go out there and teach somebody else the skill, or be comfortable, confident to be speaking about a skill. So that was my end goal. Of course, just the way the course was set up, I just didn't see how reading competencies should be done in isolation. I think it should be some type of thematic form, and the capitals for community culture wealth lend itself, as well as the collaboration with the student coach. So it was very powerful. Not only that, my students connected with each other. Whereas before, students come in and go, and this particular class, students were well connected. They were talking, they were helping each other. Even for that final project, I allowed some time for them to review the guidelines for that presentation and how they needed to attend the questions into their slides. So it really connected very well. I just felt the capitals and the career exploration and the skills all really came in for this course. And so students were happy. They walked away with something. And it wasn't just reading skills. It was a direction. And so as an instructor, I really found that to be very powerful.